Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Hello, Nigel here. As an owl, I love to be awake all night, but allergy sufferers like you probably don't feel the same. So take Xyzal at night to relieve allergies while you sleep. Then wake up fully refreshed for a more productive day. Xyzal works fast and offers 24-hour continuous relief from sneezing, runny nose, itchy watery eyes, and itchy nose and throat, so you can enjoy doing the things you love all day long. Be wise all. Take Xyzal at night. Use as directed. Starts working in 45 minutes.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Big Mad True Crime, where we get big mad over true crime. I'm your host, Heather Ashley, and today's case is out of Halifax County, Virginia. Small talk sucks, so let's dive in. Emma Compton was the baby of her family. She had 2 sisters, Shauna and Winona, and a brother named Taza. Emma and Shauna were actually born on the same day, just 3 years apart, so they called themselves the birthday twins. Those two were absolutely inseparable and spent as much time together as humanly possible. I'm talking playing games and just imagining what life was going to look like when they were grown-ups. Shauna actually told me that their big plans for the future that they would share with each other were buying houses next door to each other with this zip line in between them and a slide that would start at one of their bedroom windows and end in a pool. It was the kind of childhood dreams that only 2 best friend sisters could come up with. Shauna adored everything about Emma. She said that Emma was a bundle of energy, always laughing and smiling. She called her a caretaker, someone who would put Band-Aids on her emotional boo-boos, as she said. And in an interview with 13 News, Shauna said, "She may as well have been the big sister. She kept me in line. She was my hero." Emma, Shauna, and their 2 siblings grew up on a family farm in Virginia. After their parents divorced, the kids stayed at the farmhouse their dad had grown up in, and he became their primary parent. And I know that's not exactly the norm when it comes to custody, but even though they lived with their dad, they were still really close with their mom, who later remarried a man named Arthur, and Emma adored both of her parents and Arthur too. As they got older, Emma leaned into that caregiver role more and more. When their mom got sick, Emma was the one who looked after her. She also made sure that Arthur got to all of his doctor's appointments. And when their dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, Emma took care of him too. She happily managed his meds and always made sure that he was safe. But Emma wasn't just a caretaker. She also had a playful, creative side. She loved thrift shopping so much, and she was really, really ridiculously good at it, really good. According to Shauna, she could walk into any thrift store with $100 and walk out with $500 worth of clothes. Oh, and she loved to cook, and she never even needed a recipe to do it. Around Christmas time each year, she would make these fried apples for Shauna and then freeze them so her sister could eat them all season long. As an adult, Emma fell madly in love with this man named Randy. According to Evaporate the Missing, Randy was, in no uncertain terms, the absolute love of Emma's life. The two got married, but unfortunately, their time together was cut painfully short when Randy passed away. In 2009, after that heartbreak, Emma finally married again, this time to a truck driver named Russell Lane. Russell had 2 kids from a previous marriage, a son and a daughter, and as you can imagine, Emma happily stepped into the role as bonus mom. Emma's dad wound up giving the couple a plot of land, and it was on that land that the 2 of them built a home. Russell continued his work driving trucks for a living, and Emma worked at a convenience store called the Cody Store along Highway 40 in Nathalie, Virginia. In 2015, Emma was actually given the chance to buy that convenience store, the one that she worked at, and she didn't skip a single beat in doing it. She loved being a business owner, and she wasn't the kind of owner who just stayed in the back and made orders. She was always up front, greeting her customers when they walked in the door because that store was her baby. She took pride in it, and Shauna told Dateline, when you walked into the store, there was always a big smile and she'd say, "Hey, how are you doing?" And Emma also wasn't the kind of person who just sold products. Sure, it was a store, but she made sure that everyone who came in had exactly what they needed. If someone came in asking for something that she didn't carry, she would tell them to come back the next day. In the meantime, she would track that item down and have it waiting for them in the morning. Her community was her family, and she went above and beyond for them. Shauna said that if someone would come in hungry, Emma would feed them. If someone needed gas but they didn't have any money, she would fill up their tank. She would do anything for anyone, but unfortunately, sometimes that kindness did make it easier for people to take advantage of her. Her employees, who were honestly more like her coworkers, adored her. They described her as kind, friendly, and the kind of boss anyone would be lucky to have. But not everyone was thrilled about Emma owning the store. Her husband, Russell, did not support it. He wouldn't help her with the workload. And the guy wouldn't even shop there. Shauna thinks it was because the store gave Emma something that Russell didn't want her to have, that being independence. And you can probably assume at this point, but Russell was controlling. Shauna told me that he didn't allow Emma to have any friends, and isolation is a common tactic when it comes to abuse. And when it came to Emma visiting Shauna, her own sister, who lived all the way over in Mississippi, he only let Emma go a couple of times a year. Shauna claims he was also physically abusive, telling me about one time when Emma called her, saying that Russell had grabbed her by the neck and shoved her out the back door. Shauna immediately got in her car and drove all the way from Mississippi to Virginia to try and protect her sister. This episode of Big Mad True Crime is brought to you by Alloy Women's Health. Let's be real here, aging can be pretty rough. I'm talking sleeping issues, hot flashes, that brain fog, weight gain, you name it. Unfortunately, menopause is inevitable, but the good news is it's treatable. I recently learned that almost half of women waited 3+ years before seeking any relief from menopause or perimenopausal symptoms, and apparently that's because 43% of women report that their doctors simply never mentioned menopause hormone therapy as an option. Another 40% just didn't know where to go for a solution. Alloy can help you live your best, healthiest life through menopause and beyond. They offer unlimited access to experts and safe, science-backed treatments for your symptoms, skin, hair, and other forms of wellness, and it's delivered right to your door. Oh, and everything is done online from the comfort of your home or, frankly, anywhere. That means no waiting for an appointment and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Alloy is fast, accessible, and their treatments actually work. Alloy's treatments are by prescription, so you just fill out a short medical questionnaire and patient verification. Then you and a menopause-trained physician will design a treatment plan tailored to you and your unique needs. Once approved, you get a 3-month supply with automatic refills that gets delivered right to your door. It is as easy as that. I know that I watched my mom and mother-in-law struggle with intense hot flashes for years, and those things are brutal. When I heard about Alloy, it felt like it was that thing that's been missing for women for what feels like ever at this point. I mean, in school, we learn all about the menstrual cycle, but as an adult, no one really teaches you how to handle the next hormonal phases. And we go through so many of them, and all too often, we're just out here trying to wing it. But with Alloy, you don't have to. I cannot recommend Alloy enough. Join the 95% of women who tried Alloy and saw relief in the first 2 weeks. Head to myalloy.com/bigmad and tell them all about your symptoms, and you'll get a fully customized treatment plan, and you'll get $20 off your first order today. Head to myalloy.com/bigmad and enter code BIGMAD to get $20 off your first order. As time passed, the abuse only continued. Shauna kept up with her regular trips to Virginia to visit Emma in person, and there were times when Shauna would comment on how Russell was treating Emma. But eventually, Emma did ask her to stop because, as she told Shauna, after her sister would leave, Russell would take it out on her. Still, whenever Emma was allowed to visit Shauna, they always managed to have a really good time together. One of Emma's favorite things to do was walk on the beach and pick up these small rocks. She would rub them between her fingers, and if they didn't have the exact right texture, she'd toss them back. But if they were smooth and felt just right, she would keep them. When Emma would travel back home, she would call up her sister Shauna and say, "Guess what I'm doing? I'm rubbing my Mississippi rock between my fingers." By 2014, things between Emma and Russell had grown pretty distant. They were still living in the same house on the land her father had given her, but Emma had moved into the basement, just trying to put some kind of space between them. I mean, nothing had really changed, though, because Russell still treated her the same. And it's easy for people to ask in this moment, why didn't Emma just leave? And I want to caution everyone against that thought process. Not enough people ask, why didn't he just stop? And frankly, Emma didn't want to leave. That land that their home was built on had been given to her by her father, and she'd worked really hard to build a life on it. A life that she was really proud of, and she deserved to be proud of it. She had earned everything she had, and as Shauna told me, Emma didn't feel like she should have had to walk away from it all. And she's right, Emma did nothing wrong here. She was just strong and bright and intelligent. She worked her ass off to make sure everyone's lives around her was better. So why was she the person who would have to leave, walk out, and start all over from scratch? So please, I just caution everyone to not ask, why didn't she just leave? It's not her responsibility. In mid-June of that year, Emma and Shauna spoke on the phone for what neither of them knew would be the last time. Shauna's last words to her sister were very simple, "I love you." Then they blew each other butterfly kisses, something they always did. And when they hung up the phone, that was it. On Saturday, June 17th, Emma went to work at her store like she always did. She was there at around 9:30 p.m., but no one really knows exactly what time she left that night. The following day, she was supposed to visit her mom, Sylvia, at the hospital because Sylvia had been admitted earlier in the week, and Emma had told her that she would go visit her on Sunday, but she never showed up, and Emma always showed up. Then, on Monday, June 19th, Emma didn't open her store. She hadn't called in, and no one had seen or heard from her at all. That was a huge red flag. Emma never missed work without telling someone, and Sylvia had tried calling her daughter, but Emma just wouldn't answer the phone. She also called the store hoping that someone there might know where she was, but no one had any idea. That same morning at around 8 a.m., Shauna called her mom like she did every single morning, and that's when she found out that something was wrong. Sylvia told her that she hadn't been able to reach Emma, so Shauna tried calling her too, but just like everyone else, there was no response. Living so far out of state, Shauna couldn't just go check on Emma herself, so she called her older sister Winona and asked her to go by Emma's house, just check on things. According to NBC News, when Winona got there, everything did seem normal. The house was neat, everything was in its place. The only thing missing was Emma. Her credit card was still there, so were her clothes, her car keys, cell phone, medication, and even her dog. But there was no Emma. Winona wasn't immediately alarmed yet either because, in her opinion, there wasn't anything that stood out here as inherently dangerous or disturbing. Shauna's instincts, though, were telling her that something was very wrong. Emma wouldn't have just disappeared, she would have missed seeing their mom, and she definitely wouldn't have ignored all of those calls. Shauna wanted to get to Virginia as fast as she possibly could, but for her, that meant Thursday. At 7 a.m. on what was now Tuesday, June 20th, Shauna called the Halifax County Sheriff's Office to officially report Emma missing. She explained that she and other family members had been trying to get into contact with her, but no one had had any success. According to NBC, 3 investigators were assigned to Emma's case, and one of the first things they did was talk to her husband, Russell. Russell told them that at the time Emma went missing, he was out of town on a work trip. And from the looks of it, police seemed to accept his answer because the house Emma and Russell shared wasn't searched for quite some time. Shauna, on the other hand, wasn't buying Russell's bullshit for a single second. She told me that she'd heard from multiple people that Russell had not worked that weekend at all, meaning, according to all of those people, he should have been home when Shauna got home from work Saturday night. And Shauna had other reasons to feel suspicious as well. Russell never did an interview with the media, and he didn't make any kind of public plea for Emma to come home. He spoke to the police, but that was it. Hey guys, this is for all of my renters out there. If you rent your home, you need to check out Built because frankly, you should be earning your favorite airline miles and hotel points with one of the biggest monthly expenses you have. There's no cost to join, and just by paying rent, you unlock flexible points that can be transferred to your favorite hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. When you pay rent through Built, you unlock 2 powerful benefits. First, you earn one of the industry's most valuable points on rent every month. No matter where you live or who your landlord is, your rent now works for you. Second, you gain access to exclusive neighborhood benefits in your city. Built's neighborhood benefits are things like extra points on dining out, complimentary post-workout shakes, free mats or towels at your favorite fitness studios, and unique experiences that only Built members can access. And when you're ready to travel, Built points can be converted to your favorite miles and hotel points around the world, meaning your rent can literally take you places. So if you're not earning points on rent, my question is, what are you waiting for? Start paying rent through Built and take advantage of your neighborhood benefits by going to joinbuilt.com/bigmad. That's JOINBILT.com/bigmad. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you. Joinbuilt.com/bigmad to sign up for Built today. On Thursday, June 22nd, Shauna finally made it to Emma and Russell's house. She got there at around 5 p.m. and immediately noticed that Emma's car was still parked outside. She made her way into the basement, which Emma had moved into, and it was there that she knew at this point something was definitely wrong. The room was a complete mess with clothes scattered everywhere. It was nothing like what Winona had described just days earlier. Standing in that room, Shauna had this gut feeling that Emma wasn't coming back. She knew in her soul that something horrible had happened. She tried to explain that to the police, but she felt like no one was taking her seriously. That being said, law enforcement did start organizing searches. According to the Times-Virginian, multiple agencies joined the effort, including Virginia State Police, the Virginia Department of Emergency Management, and a local search and rescue team. They used cadaver dogs and searched the area around Emma's home, including 2 ponds. Winona later said that one of the dogs did get a hit, but it didn't lead to Emma. Then, in a gut-wrenching twist, tragedy struck again. This time during a search when a member of the local search and rescue team suffered a heart attack and passed away. The loss was completely devastating and led to the search being cut short much earlier than expected. After that, community members tried to organize new search efforts, hoping to pick up where things had left off, but according to Shauna, investigators shut those efforts down. She said that when people would try to help, they were told that the sheriff's office had the investigation into Emma's disappearance under control and that they didn't need any outside help. Over the next few months, the investigation continued. Detectives pulled security footage from Emma's store the night she disappeared, and they continued to interview Russell. At one point, Russell told investigators that Emma had been involved in drugs, which was a load of horseshit, but even still, police had to spend time and resources chasing that bullshit down. According to NBC, they spent 3 months looking into it and found zero evidence whatsoever to support Russell's claims. Despite that, however, according to what police were telling Shauna in the media, Russell was not considered a person of interest or a suspect, which does indeed sound insane. Shauna didn't trust Russell and felt like he was the one person police needed to be looking at. And it is possible here that they actually were. Sometimes police have to do one thing and say another just to make sure that the person that they are looking into doesn't know they're being looked into. If a person of interest or suspect is none the wiser, they're less inclined to cover their tracks or try and destroy potential evidence, and unfortunately that can make the public assume that police have lost their damn minds. That summer, Shauna decided to stay at Emma's house to be a little bit closer to the investigation and also to Russell. She wanted to keep searching, keep watching, and she kept detailed notes of anything she thought might help. During that time, Russell started talking to her about all kinds of things, like how he now wanted to file for divorce from Emma on the grounds of desertion, and do not worry, our girl Shauna did not hold back. She told him, point blank period, that's not gonna happen because, in her words, Emma would never walk on this earth again. Russell got real pissed in that moment and stormed off. And then there was something else, something really oddly specific and extremely bizarre, at least for the moment. Shauna said that on multiple occasions, Russell would ask her if she had seen a red sleeping bag. I mean, she obviously hadn't, but he just kept bringing it up, saying that he used to have this red sleeping bag and now he just couldn't find it. At the time, Shauna didn't understand why he kept asking about this dumbass red sleeping bag in a house that she doesn't live in, but later, those questions would haunt her. The red flags just kept piling up. In August, a vigil was held for Emma, but Russell didn't want to go. Eventually, Shauna guilted him into going, but the dude couldn't even be bothered to light a candle for his missing wife and wound up leaving early. He never went to a single vigil after that. When summer came to an end, Shauna had to go back home to Mississippi. She didn't want to leave without finding Emma, but she didn't really have a choice. Even after returning home, though, she just kept pushing for answers. On October 15th, just 4 months after Emma disappeared, their mom, Sylvia, passed away. Shauna told Dateline she had an illness, but she also died from a broken heart. During that same interview, Shauna reiterated that she didn't believe that Emma was alive. She said walking away from her life, her family, her store, her home on the land her father gave her was something Emma would have never done. And as much as I hate to say it, Shauna was right. On November 22nd, hunters in the area found human skeletal remains in a wooded area less than 1 mile from Emma's property. It was indeed Emma. And while that does sound obviously close, I want you guys to understand that she was found right next to her property line. The only thing separating the two was this electric fence. And according to investigators, Emma's body was found just 200 to 300 feet over it. Shauna told me that when word started to spread about those remains being found so close to Russell's house, a friend called him to let him know, but he didn't even bother walking over. According to officers, it looked like the remains had been left in a shallow grave and that someone had attempted to bury them. And this is where things took an even darker turn. Some of the bones were found scattered across the ground, but other bones were found wrapped inside of a red sleeping bag. Seemingly the same red sleeping bag that Russell had kept asking Shauna about over and over again that summer. Again, you have to remember at the time she had no idea why he was so fixated on this red sleeping bag, but looking back now, she now believes that those questions were deliberate, as if it was some kind of way to taunt her, like almost maybe he enjoyed it. Even though the remains hadn't been officially identified at that point, Emma's family knew it was her. And given where and how her body had been found, they also knew that Emma had been murdered. In an interview with WDBJ7, Winona said, "A person may wander off into the woods and die. They don't wander off into the woods in a sleeping bag and bury themselves in a shallow grave." Hey guys, how many times have you committed to hydrating better and then fallen off of the H2O wagon? If you're anything like me, you probably even have a cabinet full of trendy water bottles and you've tried every hydration mix under the sun. Well, I am pretty sure that I just found the best tasting, my favorite and best for you hydration mix that I've ever seen. And hot girls do not gatekeep, so obviously it's time for us to talk about it. Pure Hydration is the cleanest way to hydrate. It's made with clean ingredients, 0 added sugar, 0 artificial sweeteners, and only 25 calories per pack. It's also doctor approved and safe for the entire family. I'm talking kids and adults from ages 1 and up. It follows a formula developed by the WHO, which was proven to hydrate as effectively as an IV drip, and Cure is the only brand that is FSA eligible. That is amazing in and of itself, but the flavors are what hooked me here. With most hydration sticks I've tried, the flavor was way too much, just overwhelming and almost kind of slimy, if that makes sense, but not with Cure. It's not too sweet and not too salty. Some of their most popular flavors are blood orange, tropical punch, lemonade, strawberry kiwi, and berry pomegranate, but my favorite, hands down, is the watermelon. Seriously, 10 out of 10. I don't know why, but sometimes drinking enough water just feels difficult, but having a little bit of that flavor in the mix makes all of the difference. Cure is so easy to use. You can keep little packs in your purse or in your desk to help you keep your hydration on point all day long, no matter what you've got on your agenda. I know I keep some on my counter, in my purse, in my car, you name it. I have one nearby. And honestly, hydration is just really, really ridiculously important to anyone. 75% of Americans are dehydrated and don't drink enough water, or electrolytes for that matter. And did you know that dehydration is the most common reason for fatigue, headaches, brain fog, and dry skin? I felt like I knew most of those things, but until I started drinking Cure as often as I do now, I don't think I realized how dehydrated I must have been. And I know I said that word funny, but it is what it is. I absolutely love Cure. I mean, having a blood orange flavor, you had me hooked. But the watermelon, I'm telling you guys, I don't know that I will ever stop ordering this stuff. It is amazing. You guys have to try it. Hydration goes beyond just drinking water. It's about replenishing the electrolytes we lose through sweat, sleep, alcohol, and daily activities. Water alone isn't enough to do the job. That's why you need to try Cure, the electrolyte drink mix that tastes as amazing as it makes you feel. For Big Mad True Crime listeners, Cure is offering 20% off your first order. Stay hydrated and feel your best by visiting curehydration.com/BigMad and using promo code BigMad at checkout. That's curehydration.com/BigMad and use code BigMad for 20% off your first order. The remains in the sleeping bag were taken to the medical examiner for identification and autopsy, and police got Emma's dental records and both Shauna and Winona's DNA samples to try and help confirm the ID of the remains. It took more than a month, but in January of 2018, it was official. The remains were finally confirmed to be Emma's, and with that, her missing persons investigation became a homicide investigation, though at the time, Emma's exact cause of death wasn't publicly released. The Halifax County Sheriff's Office stated that solving Emma's murder was now their top priority. And according to Shauna, investigators finally got a warrant to search the basement of Russell and Emma's house. But just before the search could take place, a pipe magically burst in the basement, flooding the entire area. And I don't often believe in coincidences. In June of 2019, 2 years after Emma's murder, the medical examiner finally announced her cause of death. It was listed as homicidal violence to include traumatic neck injury, but they didn't provide any further information. But even that information wasn't given to Emma's family because they had to learn about it from the news. Emma's family reached out to the detective assigned to her case to ask him why that had happened, and they were told that even he didn't know that information was being released. As the investigation dragged on, Emma's family did everything they could to try and push it forward. In September of 2019, they announced a $10,000 reward for any information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person who killed her. At the time, a billboard was put up on a main road in Halifax County, and it showed Emma's photo alongside the words, "Who murdered Emma Compton Lane?" In a news report about the billboard, Emma's sister spoke to WSLS 10, and they said that even after all that time, her remains still hadn't been released to her family. They also said police had a suspect, but couldn't make an arrest because there wasn't enough evidence. Police didn't release the names of this suspect, but as you can imagine, everyone started looking at Russell. For the next 4 years, there were very few updates. Then, in November of 2023, the Halifax County Sheriff gave a statement to 10 News. He said, "The case is still being investigated by local and state officials and remains a top priority. I, along with many others, are looking forward to the day when the person/persons are brought to justice for committing this senseless act of violence. Our thoughts and prayers continue to be with the family, especially during this time of the year." In another article from around that same time, one of Emma's friends spoke to WDBJ7 and said, "I would like them, the police, to get on it. They know who killed her. Everybody knows who murdered Emma. I don't get why he's still sitting there." By June of 2024, 7 long years had passed since Emma had been murdered, and Shauna had never stopped looking for answers. She told ABC 13, "How do you get closure from losing the most important person in your life? The person who was always there for you and never gave up on you. She was my biggest hero and biggest cheerleader who never left me behind. So how am I going to leave Emma behind?" That October, Shauna shared Emma's story on the Moms and Mysteries podcast for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And shout out to those girls. We absolutely love them. Shauna talked about how painful it was to know that Russell was still free while Emma, who had spent her entire life caring for other people who would have done anything for anyone, was gone. Shauna also opened up about the domestic violence Emma had endured, saying that she hoped that by sharing the truth, maybe Emma can save a life or more, or can give at least one person a reason not to go back, to leave, and never, ever look back. The day before Thanksgiving, on November 27th, 2024, the news Shauna had been waiting 2,719 days for finally broke. On that day, Sheriff Fred Clark announced Russell's arrest for the first-degree murder of Emma. Clark stated Russell was taken into custody by authorities earlier this evening and served with an indictment for murder. We hope that this arrest will bring some measure of closure to Emma's family and loved ones. The sheriff didn't say what it was that finally led to the charges being filed, but he promised that more details would be shared as the investigation continued. Even without all of the details, though, the arrest was life-changing news for Emma's family. Shauna later spoke to WDBJ7 about how exactly that moment felt. She said it was a lot of tears, a lot of jumping up and down and screaming, a lot of excitement. I was trying to figure out if I was dreaming and was going to wake up or if this was real. She explained that the past 7 years had felt like one long, drawn-out nightmare. She said, I know other families that go through this, and some of them are still waiting after 32 years, 10 years, but it's been the longest 7 years of my life. I just want Emma to have justice. I want her to be able to rest. While Shauna said that she can't say with legal certainty whether Russell Lane is guilty or not, that's up for a jury to decide, she's had her suspicions since the day Emma disappeared. She told WDBJ7, it's a relief that he's been arrested, but Emma still doesn't have justice. I mean, this is halfway there. There's still going to have to be a trial. It's an ongoing investigation. I can't say Emma is going to have justice already because I don't know how far down the road it might be. As far as closure, there's no such thing. Shauna also noted that she hopes the public will continue to be a voice for Emma as the legal process moves forward. She then shared a message of hope for all the families who are still waiting. Families who are in the middle of their own long, hard, unfathomable road. Don't stop, she said. Don't give up. Don't lose your faith in God. Miracles happen every day, and Thanksgiving Eve is proof that miracles can happen. They do happen. At the time of this recording, very little information has been released about what exactly led to Russell's arrest. Here's what we do know, though. A grand jury indicted Russell for the first-degree murder of Emma, dated for June 18th, 2017, which is the day after she was last seen alive. He was initially held without bond, but just before Christmas, that changed. He was granted bond and released, and we all feel the exact fucking way about that information. As of this recording, he is still going through the court process, and I will keep you updated as all of that moves forward. Until then, my heart and soul are with Shauna. She is an incredible human, and with everyone who has ever loved Emma as they continue to walk this unbearably painful path towards justice. Hey guys, the youth mental health crisis is all over the news right now, and we all know that social media is definitely fueling it, period. Teens spend on average 9 hours a day on screens outside of school, and that terrifies me. As a mom and a true crime podcaster, and as true crime listeners, we all know just how dangerous the internet can be. And at a time when we're trying to figure out how to balance our kids' want for technology and our need to be able to know where they are and communicate with them, Gab has entered the chat. Gab is a company that solved this problem by doing something nobody else is doing, which they call Tech in Steps. Tech in Steps works by providing a kid-safe phone and watch for every age and stage, basically the right device at the right time. So what exactly does that look like? Well, first, Gab devices have no social media or internet apps. For younger kids, they have a watch with GPS tracking and safe zones. For tweens, there's a starter phone with more features like monitored messaging and video calling. And then for teenagers, they have an advanced phone with features like parent-managed app and a premium camera. The bottom line here is that you're not giving your kids a device that was designed for adults. Instead, you're giving them Gab, which keeps them socially connected, but in a safe way. As my kids get older, they are all over the place all the time, whether it's school, sports, or just hanging out with their friends. And as a mom, I want to know where they are at all times, and I want to be able to get in contact with them and vice versa. Gab has been absolutely incredible for our family, and it gives the kids this sense of independence while giving me a large sense of relief. I don't want my kids exposed to everything that the internet has to horror. And after my kids got theirs, their friends got the same ones. And you guys, I have not heard one child complain about a Gab device at all. They're just excited that they're connected, and I'm excited that they're safe. Seriously, I cannot recommend Gab enough. Protecting your kids has never been easier. For the best deals, sign up to Gab today, no contract required, at gab.com/bigmad. That's Gab, GABB.com/bigmad. Gab.com/bigmad. Terms and conditions apply. For all photos pertaining to this case, check out Emma's highlight at the top of my Instagram profile at @TheHeatherAshley, and join me there for when we go live and talk about today's case and any other true crime case on your mind. If you don't want to listen to ads or you want bonus episodes or early releases of series, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/bigmadtruecrime, where for just $2 whole a month, your episodes are totally ad-free. You can also subscribe on Apple. If you have a case you would like to hear covered, please share it with Big Mad True Crime on social media, because all cases are covered by listener request. And I will be bringing you a brand new case a week from today, and I cannot wait. But until then, we out. All right, guys, we're going to skip straight to the hot take today, because there's actually going to be a longer hot take on the Love Lust podcast with some incredible people very soon. I will link you to it. I'll probably drop it in the feed at some point as well. Anywho, we have a judge on there. We have an ally on there. We have an advocate on there. We have Kyle Ashley on there with his law enforcement experience. And you have me. We kind of talk about the legal aspects of this case and also just domestic violence and how it impacts everyone. Emma was literally all of us. And she was so sweet and so kind and so inherently generous with her time and her life and her light in this world. How many people get offered to buy the place they work at? That is the kind of gem of a human Emma was. And I've been able to talk to Shauna. She is beside herself in grief. The pain that she feels every day after losing her other half, essentially, just the other piece of her puzzle, is something that cannot be quantified. It is a pain that only a select group of people in this world feel. And it is gut-wrenching to know that that pain exists. But Shauna's also such a fucking fighter. She's such an incredible person, and she's done such a good job making sure that the world knows Emma. If you didn't get to meet Emma, you can feel like you know her through Shauna's advocacy for her sister. And I happen to live in Virginia, so I understand Virginia law. We're a Commonwealth in the area pretty well, so that's how we wound up connecting. Shauna's been really frustrated. She had to wait so long for updates, and I truly believe that a lot of times there's a breakdown in communication between departments, especially small departments like in Halifax. I mean, this is not a densely populated area whatsoever. Their experience with cases like this is probably fairly minimal, but law enforcement is always going to be coming from an evidentiary place, an investigative place, a probable cause place, all of these boxes being checked necessary to move forward. And family members are coming from a place of agony and emotion. And I truly wish that there was more effort put into meeting the middle with families. I think we talked about it quite a bit with Christy when it came to Justin Burt's case. She's so well-spoken and such an amazing advocate for communication between law enforcement and victims' families. But I think that there's definitely a breakdown in communication in this case. Clearly, something happened. They were investigating. I mean, I think they should have searched the house long before then, but we're here now. The grand jury for Emma's case was very lengthy, and grand juries are very private. It's never going to be public, but to have it go on for as long as it did, and then for it to finally come to a point where they decide to true bill this indictment, they must have had one last piece of evidence that really brought this together, and none of us truly know what it was. I do have some theories. I don't believe that he's entered a plea at this point, Russell, but from what I understand, I want to say he's actually on GPS monitoring at his property, which, gosh, that's infuriating enough. The bond system drives me fucking nuts on both ends of it. Jesus Christ in the morning. It's just fucking insane. And I know that there might be people who are like, you have to take into the account like statistics. If he's indicted for the accused murder of his wife, what is the recidivism rate for a domestic homicide? Probably fairly low. That being said, I don't fucking care. I truly don't. I truly, truly fucking don't. Due process is a thing, and there's an important reason it's a thing, but I think that the bond system could use some fucking work. And it's so here or there depending on, who's presenting the evidence at court and which judge is presiding over the case, all sorts of shit. I don't know. I just don't fucking agree with how this is going right now. And also I'm coming from an emotional standpoint. One, emotional for all domestic violence victims in the history of fucking time in this country and any fucking country. But also knowing Shauna and knowing a fraction of her pain just from her sharing it with me. I'm pissed. I'm so fucking pissed and disappointed. But it's moving in the right direction. And, thankfully there is that, because not everybody gets that moment. And I think she was really eloquent in saying this is halfway there. We're halfway to justice, because anything can happen at a trial. Now, I believe they have a good case. I believe that there is nothing to worry about. I'm confident in with what I do know, and talking to Shauna, I am confident that he's not going to, I'm confident in how this is going to play out. I'm confident in justice being served, but it doesn't make it any easier to be in that waiting period and wondering all of the things that could possibly happen and what could go wrong. And especially, I don't know. I'm so emotionally attached to this case. We live in a world, especially right now, where I feel like we are underreacting to the epidemic of violence against women. And women are gaslit all too often that X, Y, and Z are not abuse. This isn't abuse. That isn't abuse. You're looking for red flags. What do you mean? You're overreacting. We are severely underreacting. Shauna deserved the world, and anybody who's listening to this that isn't sure if they're being abused, that might be going back and forth like, I think this is abuse, but then you wrestle with yourself. Did I cause this? Do I deserve it? Is he right that it's my fault? I've been there. As someone who has survived domestic violence, I have been there where I looked for all of the ways to sane wash what was happening to me. And I wish that back then, like, podcasts were a thing and talking about abuse was more frequent and open and normalized, because then maybe I wouldn't have felt so alone and I wouldn't have spent so much time trying to convince myself that it was okay. And I mean, if any of you guys are listening to this and you identified with anything that Emma went through, like, please reach out to someone. I know it's not easy to leave. It never is. And it's never going to get any easier. I remember when I left, there was never this like super easy moment. I remember putting it off, like, oh, well, when I can do this or when I have that. It just always kept getting pushed back because there's never an easy moment to do a hard thing. But I'm so glad that I did. And I am so heartbroken for everyone who didn't get a chance. And of course, like, leaving is dangerous too. It is like, after you leave is like the most dangerous time. I think it's like a 2-year window where it is extremely dangerous for you. There are incredible resources. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is one of them. You can go to their website. They have a phone number. They have a text option. They have a chat option. They also have an option to like X out of it so quickly. I mean, they really do think of everything. And even if you're not ready to leave yet and you just need a safe person to talk to about what you're going through, please call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. They have so many people there. You're not a burden. You're not bothering anyone. You're not being dramatic. Please just call them just so you have a person. I remember making excuses for people who didn't like my abuser and just inflating their aura, maybe, reputation at the expense of my own. And I didn't know why I was doing it, but maybe it was easier for me to live with it if I said dumb shit out loud that wasn't true, that they were like a good person. I don't know. But I did it. And when it came time for me to leave, it was even more difficult to talk to anybody because I'd spent so much fucking time and energy building up their reputation against people who saw red flags that I refused to acknowledge. And so if you feel alone or like you don't want to talk to people that you do know, please reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline. They are there. You are not bothering anyone. I love you. So many people listening to this love you. Everyone is rooting for you. They are waiting for your call. They want to be your person. They want to hear what you have going on. You're worth everything. And anyone who has convinced you otherwise or told you otherwise is full of fucking shit, and we don't like them. Okay? You're our bestie now. And you've got this. Okay? So if you're ever wondering if you're alone, like, you're our family now. So you're not. I promise. Okay? All right, guys. This case is so emotional for me. I want to hop off. I love you so much, Kelly.